"You do not need that," my son-in-law yelled when he saw my dream RV. "Tomorrow my family and I are going on vacation, and we are dropping you off at a nursing home." I froze, but he did not know I already had a plan. As soon as they hit the highway, I sent him a text message. "Check the glove box." What he found in there forced him to pull over, and that was just the beginning. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments what time it is where you are. I signed my name on the bottom line, my hands steady on the paper. 35 years selling insurance policies had taught me to review every clause, every condition, and this contract was clean. The Winnebago Vista waited 15 feet away in the dealership lot in Phoenix, cream and bronze under the afternoon sun, the windows shining like promises. $45,000 from my retirement fund, money saved dollar by dollar with care. The salesman shook my hand and left the keys in my palm. "Congratulations, Mr. Reeves. It is all yours." I walked alone toward the RV, ran my fingers over the smooth surface of the fiberglass. Inside, everything smelled new. I opened the cupboards of the small kitchen, tested the faucet, sat in the driver's seat, and squeezed the steering wheel. The Grand Canyon first, I thought. Then the Yukon. Maybe Alaska before the snow arrived. Places I had marked on maps for years while clients talked to me about life insurance and policy conversions in front of my desk. Standing in the entryway, I took out my cell phone. Lucy would want to know. She had been asking me for months about my retirement plans, suggesting I look for hobbies, that I stay active. This was better than hobbies. This was freedom. I hesitated for a moment before dialing, my thumb hovering over her contact photo, her bright smile, her kids on either side. Then I pressed call. "Dad?" Her voice sounded flat, distracted. "Lucy, honey, I did it. I bought the RV. A Winnebago Vista, in excellent condition. I am looking at it right now, and I am already imagining the Grand Canyon, the Yukon, maybe even Alaska. The silence stretched on the line. Not the good kind, not the pause before excitement. The silence that calculates. "How much did you spend?" Not a congratulation, not a word about my plans or my joy. Only numbers. I felt something small deflate inside my chest. $45,000. It is a solid investment, and I have been saving for this since 45,000. She cut off my explanation like scissors on paper. "That is a lot of money. You could have used it in another way." I stayed in the dealership parking lot, the keys getting hotter in my fist. Behind me, cars passed on the avenue. A family was loading groceries into an SUV, their kids laughing. "I thought you would be happy for me. This was something I had wanted to do for years. I have to go. Ryan just got home. We will talk later." The call cut off before I could answer. I stared at the phone screen. Duration 2 minutes and 38 seconds. That was all the time my dream deserved. I climbed into the driver's seat and started the engine, listening to its purr. The drive home took 40 minutes through the Scottsdale traffic, and I spent every one of those minutes trying to understand what it meant to act more sensibly. By the afternoon, I parked the trailer in my driveway next to the house, the empty house. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, spaces my wife had filled before cancer took her 4 years ago. I made a sandwich, took it to the trailer, and unfolded maps on the small table. One route was marked with memories of Route 66. Another pointed out national parks. My finger traced the highways, but my mind went back again and again to Lucy's voice. That coldness, that immediate way of thinking about costs instead of joy. More wisely, I picked up the phone twice, put it back down twice. No call back came, no message apologizing for reacting badly, nothing saying she was happy for me, that Ryan had actually arrived at a bad time. Nothing. The maps remained unfolded and colorful under the ceiling light, but I no longer felt enthusiasm. Outside, my house remained in shadows. Only a light in the kitchen and another in the trailer, an old man with an expensive mistake. I folded the maps carefully, following the original creases. I turned off the table lamp. Through the trailer window I saw my house. Dark. Empty. Just like it had been since my retirement began 6 months ago. I told myself that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow I would start over. I would plan the first real trip. Maybe drive up to Sedona for a test run. I had no idea that the next day would change everything. The morning coffee tasted bitter. I did not know if I had used too many grounds or if I still had the taste of yesterday's conversation in my mouth. At 8:30, the kitchen window framed the trailer under the perfect light of the Arizona sun. A beautiful machine. A beautiful waste, according to my daughter. I rinsed the cup, left it in the rack, and then I heard the car. It was not the mail truck, too early, not a delivery van either. I moved to the living room window and saw a black Lexus pull up to the curb. Ryan got out, slammed the door shut, and advanced toward my house with a determined step. No prior call. No knock of courtesy. The front door opened. I had not locked it. I almost never did in my neighborhood. And my son-in-law walked straight through the living room to the kitchen. Arthur? No, Arthur, how are you? No, good morning, just my name. Flat, like a sentence. The family talked about it. We need the trailer for a couple of weeks. A 2-week vacation. They already had everything planned. I was standing by the sink, still with the rag in my hand. Processing. The family had talked about it. When? Last night while I stayed alone reviewing my maps. What? Ryan, what are you talking about? I just bought it yesterday. He walked past me, scanning the counter. He found what he was looking for. My keychain, exactly where I had left it, next to the coffee maker. The Winnebago key hung from its branded fob. Yes, Lucy told me. 45,000. It is a lot for something you're barely going to use. My hands tensed on the towel. Barely use? I had owned it less than 24 hours. Not use it? I was planning an entire trip, at your age? He held up the keys, examining them as if they were fruit at the market. Come on, you do not need this. We can drop you off at a senior living facility on the way if you want. The words hit me like a punch. Senior living, as if I were luggage to be stored, as if those $45,000, my savings, my life, had been spent just so his family could have a vacation vehicle. You cannot take what is mine. Those are my keys. But he was already heading to the door, with my keys in his fist. Young, sure of himself, dismissive. We are family. We lend things to each other. That is how it works. We will take good care of it. I took a step forward. I reached out my hand. But he was faster. 37 years against my 63. He opened the front door, stopped on the threshold, and threw his last courtesy. Thanks for understanding. We leave tomorrow. Then he disappeared. He walked down the path, got into the Lexus. The engine started smooth and luxurious. I was still at the door, watching him drive away, with my arms extended as if I could bring him back, recover my keys, recover my dignity from where he had thrown it. The Lexus turned the corner. It vanished. I stood there a whole minute before my legs remembered how to move. I went back inside. I closed the door. This time I locked it. I stayed in the kitchen in the place where Ryan had been, where he entered without real permission and took what he wanted. The family had talked about it. Lucy's coldness yesterday suddenly made sense. She was not upset about my purchase. She was calculating its value, measuring how they could take advantage of it. And that comment, "You could have invested it better," meant she had already decided the money should go somewhere else, surely to her. I walked to my bedroom, moving on automatic. I opened the top drawer of the dresser where I kept important documents, spare batteries, old watches, and there, on a small metal ring, the spare set of keys. The dealership had given me 2. Always have a duplicate, I had learned in insurance. Always prepare for the loss. I picked up the keys. I felt their weight. Ryan thought he had won, that I accepted it, that the old man would return to his empty house and let them steal his dream for a 2-week vacation. 35 years in insurance had taught me patience. They had taught me to read people, to detect liars. Documenting everything taught me that contracts always work both ways, that assumptions are a risk, and that the person you value least is usually the one who ends up destroying you. I sat at my desk with the cold spare keys in my hand. Through the window I saw the trailer still parked in my driveway, waiting, still mine, full of maps and possibilities. Ryan would come back the next morning believing it would be ready, expecting me to obey. He would knock on the door, or maybe enter without warning like before, and discover just how wrong he was about old men, nursing homes, and forced loans. I took my phone and opened the contact list. I had calls to make. I left the keys on the desk while I pulled files from the cabinet. Insurance policies, mine, the house, the trailer, property deeds, investment statements, and my will, dated 3 years ago, updated after my wife's death. Everything for Lucy. Everything I had worked for, saved, and protected. I spread the documents on the desk and began to review them. An insurance agent learns to think in scenarios. What happens if this occurs? What coverage applies? What risks the client faces? I applied that same analysis, but the calculation now had nothing to do with premiums or liability limits, but with the risk that my daughter and her husband believed they could humiliate me without paying a price. The clock on the table marked 2, then 4, then 6. The sunrise entered gray through the window, and I was still there, thinking. Lucy's voice on that call, "How much did you spend?" had not been one of surprise, but of inventory. Ryan's certainty entering my house, taking my keys, talking about a nursing home, was not improvised cruelty. It was rehearsed, planned. The family had discussed it. How long had they been plotting this? At 7:30, I picked up the phone and searched through my contacts. Julia Vance, attorney. I had worked with her on estate planning after my wife's death. Professional, thorough, expensive. I pressed call. "Ms. Vance, this is Arthur Reeves. I need to see you today to change my will. It is urgent." Her voice maintained that calculated neutrality of lawyers. "Mr. Reeves, my schedule is completely... I will pay double your rate. It cannot wait." A pause. "So I can move some appointments? 2 in the afternoon. I will be there." I showered, put on the gray suit I had worn in client meetings for 3 decades, starched white shirt, navy blue tie. When you make decisions that matter, you dress as if they matter. I made coffee, drank it standing in the kitchen, and left the house at 1:15. The drive to her office in downtown Phoenix took 40 minutes. I rehearsed what I was going to say, clinical, direct, without emotion. Julia Vance's office was on the 3rd floor of a building near the courthouse. Glass desk, leather armchairs, frame degrees on the wall. She shook my hand and motioned for me to sit. "Your current will leaves everything to your daughter Lucy. Do you want to change that too?" I looked her in the eyes. "The Arizona Veterans Relief Fund. Primary beneficiary. Lucy gets $1. I want it written just like that. Exactly $1. She put the pen down on the table. "Mr. Reeves, this is a major change. Are you completely sure? Sometimes family disputes can be... I have never been more sure of anything in my life." "How fast can you prepare it?" She observed me, looking for doubt, anger, or sadness. She would find nothing. "I was already past all that. I can have it ready by this afternoon. You will need 2 witnesses for the signing. Can I ask what motivated this?" I stood up. "The family showed me who they really are. I am just responding accordingly." 3 hours later, I returned to her office. The document was ready. 2 paralegals served as witnesses. I signed my name 3 times. 1 on the original and 2 on the copies. The pen moved firmly on each signature line. No hesitation, no regret. "I need all 3 copies," I told Julia. She put them in a folder and handed it to me across the desk. "The original will be filed in my office. These copies are for you. Mr. Reeves, if you need to talk." "Thank you for your time, Ms. Vance." I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat. The trailer was in my driveway, exactly where I had left it, cream and bronze under the afternoon light. I parked the car and walked to the trailer with the spare keys in my hand. The lock turned without a problem. The door opened with a soft click. Inside, everything still smelled new. Ryan still had not taken it. He said he would do it tomorrow. I walked to the front, opened the glove box, and placed a copy of the will in there without hiding it, right on top, where anyone looking for insurance or registration papers would find it immediately. I stood for a moment looking around, the compact kitchen, the table where I had spread out my maps. This had been my dream, My reward after 35 years of work and careful saving. They turned it into a robbery. Let's see how that vacation goes for them, I said to the empty space. I locked the trailer and went back to my house. From the living room window, I could see it there. Innocent, common, waiting. I placed the document carefully, just where anyone checking the vehicle registration or insurance papers would find it. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table. They would arrive soon. Ryan had said they would leave in the morning. I checked the time. Any moment. I stood at the window with my coffee, watching the street. 7:40 in the morning. The neighborhood was waking up. Garage doors opening, cars backing out, people going to work. A normal Tuesday. Normal lives. Mine stopped being normal the instant Ryan crossed my door yesterday. The black Lexus appeared at 8:15, followed by a silver SUV. Both vehicles pulled into my driveway. The doors opened. Ryan got out first, then Lucy from the passenger seat. 2 kids got out from the back. Sophie, 10 years old, with her mother's face, and Matt, 7, hugging a teddy bear, my grandkids. I had sent them birthday cards, Christmas presents. They barely knew me. I watched them as they started loading the trailer. Suitcases, coolers, beach chairs, an inflatable raft. They moved with the quiet speed of a family ready for vacation, excited, eager for adventure. No one knocked on my door. No one looked toward my window. It was as if I did not exist. Ryan opened the trailer with the keys he had taken from my counter. He went in first, checked the interior, then came out and called his family. Everyone stored things in the compartments, organizing their belongings in my space. Then Ryan turned toward my house, cupped his hands to his mouth and shouted, loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear, "Thanks for the trailer, Arthur. We are going to take good care of it. Maybe we will even send you postcards." Lucy touched his arm. "Ryan, let's go already." He laughed. "What? He cannot hear us anyway. Surely he is locked up, pouting." Sophie pulled on his shirt. "Dad, can we stop at the Grand Canyon?" Matt was jumping with excitement. "I want to see the ocean." Ryan crouched in front of them, expansive, generous. "We're going to see it all, kids. 2 whole weeks of adventure." They got into the trailer. Ryan at the wheel, Lucy beside him, the kids in the back. The engine started. I watched them leave my driveway, turn left, and disappear around the corner. The whole process took 12 minutes. I sat at the kitchen table and put the phone in front of me. I checked the time. 8:27. They would surely take Interstate 10 heading west. From Phoenix to California, passing through the desert towns. In 2 hours they would be past the city limits, maybe getting close to the state line. Far enough that returning meant a decision, not a quick fix. I drank my coffee slowly, washed the cup, dried it, put it away. I checked the time. 9, 9:30, 10, 10:15. At 10:27 I picked up the phone and opened a new message. Ryan's number. I wrote 4 words. Check the glove box. I pressed send and left the phone on the table. 3 minutes passed. My cell phone lit up. Ryan calling. I let it ring. Voicemail. Another call. Voicemail. The screen would not turn off. Immediately another call. This time from Lucy. I let it ring too. By 10:45 I already had 63 missed calls from Ryan, 28 from Lucy, several voice messages. I opened one. I heard the first 5 seconds. "Arthur, what is in the glove box? Call me." I deleted it without finishing it. I touched another. "What the hell is this? You cannot do this to me. This is... Call me right now. Delete." Next voicemail. This time Lucy, with a broken voice. "Dad, please, call us. We need to talk about this. I beg you." I put the phone aside and opened the message screen. I wrote slowly, making sure every word was exact. This is just the beginning. Send. I put the phone face down on the coffee table. The buzzing continued. Vibrations against the wood. Persistent, desperate. Their panic was invisible from here, but I imagined it. Ryan pulling over on the highway shoulder, Lucy reading the will, her face turning pale. The kids in the back asking what was wrong. Why are we stopping? Are we still on vacation? I walked to my office and opened the filing cabinet. From inside, I took out the folder I had prepared the night before. Second copy of the will, RV papers, purchase receipts, the original signed title, everything with my name, my signature, my property, clearly documented. That morning I had made another call, one I did not mention to anyone. 7:30, before coffee, before sitting at the window, to the Scottsdale Police Department, non-emergency line. I explained my situation calmly, professionally. I have bought a property. My family took it without permission. I have the documents. I want to file a report. The next morning I had an appointment. Officer Miller, 9 o'clock sharp. They were waiting for me. I went back to the living room and picked up the phone. 81 missed calls already. I turned it off completely and put it in the desk drawer. Let them worry. Let them despair. Let them understand that the old man they had looked down on, the candidate for a nursing home, the one who, according to them, did not need a $45,000 RV at his age. I would show them exactly what he is capable of when pushed too far. I made lunch, turkey sandwich, a glass of water. I ate it slowly at the kitchen table where just yesterday Ryan had stood, where he took my keys with that natural arrogance. The house was silent. Outside, the hollow in the driveway where the RV used to be looked strange, incomplete. But I was no longer empty. I was full of purpose, full of clarity, full of cold and perfect certainty about what came next. The morning light entered through my bedroom window while I organized the papers on the desk. Purchase receipt from the dealership, $45,000. My signature. Date marked 6 days ago. Certificate of title. Arthur Reeves, sole owner. No co-signers, no liens. Registration card, insurance policy. Photographs I had taken of the license plate attached to the RV door. I arranged them in order, put them in a manila folder, and checked my watch. 8:15. The police station opened at 8. I put on the gray suit, the same one I had used in Julia Vance's office. When you want people to take you seriously, you dress seriously. 35 years selling insurance taught me that appearance weighs almost as much as facts. Almost. The drive to the Scottsdale police station took 12 minutes. Modern building, sand-colored facade, an American flag waving out front. I parked in the visitor lot and walked through the glass doors, into the air conditioning and fluorescent light, a reception counter, plastic chairs, posters about crime prevention. A uniformed officer looked up from his computer. "How can I help you, sir?" I approached the counter, left my folder on the surface, and looked him straight in the eye. "I need to report the theft of a vehicle." The name tag read, Officer Diego Gomez. He had the weathered face of someone who has heard the same story twice. He pulled out a form, clicked his pen. What type of vehicle? An RV. Winnebago Vista. I bought it 6 days ago for $45,000. My son-in-law took it without permission yesterday morning. Gomez's hand stopped. His expression said, family problem, not real theft. I already expected that. Do you have proof of ownership? I opened the folder and turned the documents toward him. Bill of sale from the dealership. Title only in my name. Registration. Insurance policy. All under my name. I can also give you the VIN number and the current location of the vehicle. Gomez pulled the papers closer, reviewing each one in detail. His expression changed. Skepticism gave way to professional interest. Current location. Interstate 10, heading west. He told me yesterday he was on his way to California. He must be about 2 hours from here now. He began to type, entering the information into his computer. Did you give him permission to use it? No. He entered my house, took the keys from the counter, and took it, even though I told him not to. I have a spare set. That is how I managed to get my personal documents out before he left. Gomez photographed every paper with his phone, registered the VIN, asked me for the full name and description of Ryan. He wrote without pause, formulating questions and filling in the spaces on the screen. The form took 20 minutes. When he finished, he looked at me with something resembling respect. "Mr. Reeves, with the documentation you presented, this qualifies as unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Due to the value, it is a felony. I will enter it into the system immediately. Highway Patrol will locate the vehicle and contact the driver. And then what? They will inform him of the theft report and give him options. Return the vehicle immediately or face arrest for grand theft auto." I thanked him and left. Simple as that. Documents, procedure, law. Three pillars that sustain civilization. Ryan had forgotten that, or maybe he never understood it. I drove back home, made coffee, and sat by the front window. The empty space in my driveway did not seem so strange anymore. Soon it would stop being empty. The phone rang at noon. Gomez's voice, professional and emotionless. Mr. Reeves, a highway patrol located your vehicle about 70 miles west of Phoenix. The officers spoke with the driver. He has been informed of the theft report and is heading back to your address. Was there any problem? At first he showed resistance. He says it was all a family misunderstanding. The officers explained that the title indicates a single owner and that you filed a formal complaint. He understood what his options were. I imagined the scene. The lights flashing in the rearview mirror. Two officers approaching with their hands near their weapons. Standard procedure in a vehicle theft stop. Ryan's confident smile fading when they explained the reason for the stop. Lucy crying in the passenger seat. The confused kids in the back asking why the police were there, why their trip was over. Thank you, Officer Gomez. They will arrive at your address in about 2 hours. Do you want an officer present when they return the vehicle? No, I just want him to return what is mine. I ended the call and looked at the clock. 2 hours. I refilled my coffee cup and sat back down by the window. The afternoon sun beat down hard. Typical August in Arizona. They called it dry heat, as if that made the 110 degrees more bearable. I thought about Ryan's face when the patrolman approached him. The instant he understood that this was not an angry old man making empty threats. It was the law. It was documentation. It was procedure, and it was consequences. That is what happens when you take $45,000 of someone else's property and think being family gives you immunity. The coffee was already cold when I saw the trailer turn onto my street. It was 2 o'clock, almost exact. Behind came Ryan's Lexus, driven by Lucy. The trailer pulled into my driveway, wobbling a bit when Ryan braked too hard. He turned off the engine. Nothing moved for half a minute. Then the trailer door opened and Ryan got out, his face flushed. Shame? Rage? Probably both. He slammed the trailer door shut. I heard it even with the window closed. Lucy got out of the Lexus slower, her face swollen and stained with tears. The kids stayed in the back, glued to the glass, watching. I got up, walked to the front door, and stepped out onto the porch. I did not go to them. I made them come to me, my property, my driveway, my terms. Ryan crossed the concrete with hard steps, stopping 10 feet away, close enough to yell, not to touch. You humiliated us. The police stopped us on the highway as if we were criminals, in front of my children. What kind of sick old man does this to his own family? I kept my voice calm, like in a normal chat. The kind whose property was stolen. Stolen? The word got stuck in his throat. We are family. You do not call the police on family. You took my vehicle without permission. That is theft. The police agreed. His hands closed into fists. For an instant, I thought he might actually hit me. A part of me almost wished he would, assaulting an elderly person. Officer Gomez would be interested in that. You think you are very smart, changing your will as if it were an act of revenge? We are going to fight it. We are going to get you declared incompetent. It is evident that you suffer from dementia if you think this is acceptable behavior. There it was, the threat I expected. The move I had already foreseen. Predictable. Lucy approached slowly with tears running down her face. Dad, please. The kids are scared. They do not understand why their trip was ruined. Why are you doing this to us? I stared at her. To you all? Or to you, Lucy? She shuddered. I am your daughter. How can you treat me like this? I treated you like family. I told you about my dream. You told your husband. He came and took it from me. So yes, Lucy, that is how I treat those who do that. He is my husband. He made a mistake. You cannot forgive a mistake. Think about your grandkids, the grandkids, the guilt card. I had anticipated that too. Ryan stepped forward, his voice lowered to a tone harder than yelling. This is not over. You are going to hear from our lawyer. Tomorrow, we file the lawsuit. It is clear you do not have the mental capacity to handle your affairs. I extended my hand, palm up, waiting. He looked at me confused. The keys, I said. His jaw tensed. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to throw them at my feet or into the street. But today he had learned something. That refusing had consequences. He took the keychain out of his pocket and let it drop into my hand. The metal was still warm from his body heat. I closed my fingers around it, turned and walked toward my door. Behind me, Lucy was still crying. Ryan was breathing hard through his nose. The kids watched from the car windows. I went inside and closed the door. The lock engaged with a firm click. Through the window, I saw them stand there a minute longer. Then Ryan took Lucy by the arm and led her toward the Lexus. They left. The trailer was in my driveway, returned, but it no longer symbolized dreams. Now it represented something else. I went to the kitchen and poured the cold coffee down the sink. Tomorrow they would file their petition. Tomorrow the next phase would begin. That night I had calls to make. The letter arrived at 9:30 the next morning. I was drinking coffee in the backyard when the doorbell rang. A uniformed courier asked me to sign for the delivery. A legal-size envelope. Law firm address embossed in the corner. Whitman and Associates. Attorneys at law. I signed on the electronic tablet, closed the door, and opened the envelope in the kitchen. The paper was heavy, expensive. The writing was drafted in formal language. Petition for a declaration of incapacity. Grounds to sustain that Arthur Reeves, age 63, lacks the necessary mental capacity to manage his finances. It alleged recent erratic behavior, estrangement from family, impulsive purchases, and even legal proceedings against relatives. Request for a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation. I read it twice, slowly. They had moved fast. They consulted a lawyer last night, filed the lawsuit this morning. Ryan was nothing if not reactive. Every move of mine had an immediate counter. Predictable. Almost disappointing. I left the request on the counter and picked up my phone. I looked for the contact I had saved 3 days ago, when none of this had started. Julia Vance's direct line. She answered on the second ring. Miss Vance, this is Arthur Reeves. I need to see you today. They have filed an incapacity petition. A pause. Then I will make room. Can you be here at 2? I will be there at 1:30. I spent the morning gathering more documents. Bank statements showing careful and consistent management. Balanced investment portfolios, suitable for my age and risk tolerance. Tax returns filed on time for 35 years. Performance reviews from my insurance career. References from former colleagues. Medical records from my physical exam 2 months ago. Normal blood pressure, cholesterol controlled. Cognitive tests with excellent results. By 1 o'clock, I had 3 folders ready. Proof of competence. Proof of good judgment. Proof of a man who had lived making rational decisions versus irresponsible ones. A single impulsive purchase. An RV paid for with my own money. Did not erase all that history. Julia Vance's office felt colder than I remembered, or maybe it was just me being exhausted. She pointed to the chair across from her desk. She reviewed the petition while I waited. Her face revealed nothing. This is aggressive, she said finally. Normally, incapacity requests appear with true cognitive decline, medical evidence, family accounts of confusion, dangerous behaviors. This, she touched the paper, is retaliation. Can they win? Do you want the legal answer or the practical one? Both. Legally, they must prove that you lack the capacity to handle your affairs. With your documentation, medical records, and the evident retaliatory nature of this lawsuit, they will lose. Practically, it will be expensive, it will take time, and it will be emotionally draining. And that may be the goal. They are trying to punish you for not giving them what they wanted. I already knew that. How do we respond? We file a countersuit. We show your medical records, financial history, and character witnesses. We argue that this is a frivolous petition made in bad faith. And, she leaned forward, we go on the offensive. We ask for a restraining order, prohibiting them from entering your property or contacting you. We document their harassment. We make this cost them more than it costs you. Do it, she said while writing on a legal pad. I will need you to give me your medical records, your financial documents, authorization to contact character witnesses, former colleagues, neighbors, Anyone who can attest to your capacity and stability. I slid 3 folders across her desk, already prepared. She opened the first one, scanned bank statements, investment reports, tax returns. A smile drew itself on the corner of her mouth. You're making my job very easy, Mr. Reeves. 35 years in insurance, I know how to document a claim. This is not just documenting a claim. This is... She closed the folder and looked me in the eyes. This is building a case so they never have access to your assets again. You understand what you are doing. I am protecting what I worked to have. You are also breaking your relationship with your daughter, definitively. Once we file the restraining order, once we allege they are harassing you for money, there will be no turning back. I thought of Lucy's face yesterday, amidst tears and accusations, using her children as weapons, never acknowledging what Ryan had done, never defending me or asking me if I was okay. File everything. The hearing was set for 3 weeks later. It is a routine calendar, Julia explained. Both parties would present evidence. A court-appointed psychiatrist would evaluate me. The judge would issue a ruling. They will try to reach a settlement before, she added. When they see your documentation and realize they are losing, they will offer to withdraw the petition if you put them back in your will. And if they do, what do you want me to tell them? I stood up, gathering my empty folders. Tell them no. The next 2 weeks passed slowly. I followed my routine. Going to the grocery store, gym, having lunch with 2 ex-colleagues who agreed to be character witnesses. Normal life, competent life. The life of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. Lucy called 4 times. I did not answer. She left voice messages. The first was furious. How dare you file a restraining order? You are destroying this family. The second was pleading, please, Dad, we can fix this. Just withdraw everything and let's forget what happened. The third was desperate. Ryan did not do it on purpose. He is sorry. We all are. Please. The fourth was just crying until the line cut off. I saved all 4 messages. Documentation. Ryan sent an email. Subject. Last offer. I opened it standing at my kitchen counter. We will withdraw the incompetency petition and leave you alone. In exchange, you put us back in the will and sign over the title of the trailer. Otherwise, we go to trial and drag it out for years. You decide. I forwarded the email to Julia Vance without replying. She answered me in less than an hour. Perfect. He just put his extortion attempt in writing. Save this. The psychiatric evaluation took place on a Wednesday afternoon. Dr. Patricia Alvarez, appointed by the court, received me in her office in downtown Scottsdale. She asked questions for 90 minutes. My medical history, my career, my relationship with Lucy, the purchase of the trailer, the change of the will, my decision to call the police. I answered with total sincerity to every question. No embellishments, no victimizing myself, just facts. She administered cognitive tests, memory exercises, pattern recognition, and problem-solving scenarios. I passed everything without difficulty. At the end, she closed her notebook and looked me straight on. Mr. Reeves, do you understand why your daughter filed this petition? Yes, she wants my money. That sounds a bit simplistic, but it is true. She smiled barely. I will have my report ready for the court on Friday. I cannot discuss my conclusions with you, but I will tell you this. Nothing in your conduct indicates cognitive decline or inability to manage your affairs. What you are living is a family conflict, not a competence problem. I thanked her and left. The hearing was set for Monday, 3 days away. Julia called me on Friday night with news. Dr. Alvarez's report arrived. It is excellent for us. She determined that you are fully competent, pointed out the vindictive nature of the petition, and recommended dismissing it immediately. Whitman called me an hour later. Do they want to reach an agreement? What are they offering? They withdraw the petition in exchange for you, lifting the restraining order and considering putting them back in your will. No, I told them you would answer that. Will they go ahead with the hearing on Monday? Good. Arthur, they are going to lose, and ugly. The judge will see what it really is, harassment. You will win. I know. Then why do you sound disappointed? I looked out my kitchen window toward the trailer in my driveway, 3 weeks since I bought it. 3 weeks since my life divided into a before and after. Why shouldn't winning feel so empty? Monday dawned cloudy, something rare for August. I put on my suit, drove to the courthouse, and met with Julia in the hallway outside the courtroom. Lucy and Ryan were at the other end, another lawyer now. Whitman must have withdrawn. This new one looked young, uncomfortable. The hearing lasted 40 minutes. Julia presented Dr. Alvarez's report, my medical records, my financial documentation, the statements from character witnesses. The opposing lawyer tried to allege emotional instability, pointed to the will change as proof of altered judgment. Judge Catherine Rhodes, efficient 50-something, no patience for nonsense, interrupted him mid-sentence. Counselor, changing a will is not proof of incompetence. It is proof of autonomy. Do you have any medical evidence of cognitive decline? Your Honor, the defendant's recent conduct, which includes documentation and order, legal consultation, and appropriate use of the law when his property was stolen, that is not decline. That is good judgment. Petition denied. The gavel struck. A single dry sound. All over. Lucy remained motionless. Ryan's face turned white and then red. His lawyer gathered the papers in a hurry, avoiding looking at me. I left the room next to Julia. I did not look back. On the courthouse steps, she turned to me. The restraining order remains in effect. They cannot approach without violating it. The change of the will is protected. Your capacity was established in the records. You won everything. Yes. Why don't you look happier? I watched the cars pass on the street, common people, normal lives. Just another Monday. Because I did not want to win this. What I wanted was not to have had to do it. She touched my arm briefly, a gesture of professional sympathy. I will send you my final bill. Call if you need anything. I drove alone back home. The trailer was still in my driveway, in the same place for 3 weeks. I had not entered since the day I left the will in the glove box. I had not planned trips. I had not spread maps on the table. Now I opened it and went inside. The air was stale. I opened the windows, letting the August heat fill the place. My phone vibrated. Text message. Unknown number. You destroyed your family for money. I hope it was worth it. I deleted it without answering. Blocked the number. Then I sat at the small table in the trailer and took out the maps I'd folded 3 weeks ago. Grand Canyon, the Yukon, Alaska, all the places I had dreamed of visiting. I traced the routes with my finger, but something had changed. The illusion was gone. The expectation was no longer there. Only colored paper and highway lines remained. I put away the maps. Tomorrow I would call the agency to see how much they offered for a 3-week-old trailer with 800 miles on it. Could someone else chase those dreams? Mine vanished the day Ryan crossed my door. The court gave me justice, but justice was not the same as recovering what was lost. I locked the trailer and went into my house, poured a glass of water, sat at the kitchen table, alone. I called Julia Vance before finishing my second cup of coffee. The incompetence petition was on the table, legal paper reflecting the morning light. She answered on the first ring. Arthur, I received a courtesy copy of the petition. They are alleging incapacity due to your recent erratic conduct, including the change of will in the police report. How solid is their case? Weak without evidence, but these processes can drag on. We must act preventively. What I recommend. Get complete medical evaluations from independent doctors before any court-ordered expert opinion. Record your mental competence. 2 doctors. Complete cognitive studies. Neurological exam. Irrefutable documentation. I made the appointments that same afternoon. Dr. Patricia Hendricks for Wednesday. Dr. Manuel Chen for Friday. General practitioner and neurological specialist. Covering everything. Dr. Hendricks's office was in North Scottsdale, a modern building surrounded by desert landscaping. She was thorough. She reviewed my clinical history, my medications, pressure, cholesterol, everything under control. She asked about family history, lifestyle habits, exercise routines. Then the cognitive tests began. Mr. Reeves, I'm going to give you 3 words to remember. She asked me to repeat 3 words a few minutes later. The words were apple, table, penny. Can you repeat them? apple, table, penny. She asked me to count backward from 100 by sevens, say who the current president was, recall what I had for breakfast, draw a clock marking 3:15. She asked me about recent news, what had happened that week. I told her about the hurricane in Florida, the economic report, a Supreme Court decision I had read. 20 minutes later, she asked again what those three words were. Apple, table, penny. She took notes and smiled slightly. Your cognitive function is excellent, Mr. Reeves. Memory, attention span, reasoning, everything within normal parameters. In fact, better than the average for your age group. Dr. Chen's exam was more technical, neurological reflexes, coordination tests, spatial reasoning evaluations. He made me walk heel to toe, touch my nose with my index fingers alternating, identify patterns in visual sequences. Do you do crosswords? He asked me while reviewing his conclusions. Your reaction time and processing speed are impressive. Insurance policies, I answered. I spent 35 years reading fine print. That keeps the mind sharp. Both doctors delivered detailed reports on official letterhead, complete cognitive evaluations, neurological exams, conclusions, no evidence of dementia, cognitive decline or incapacity. The patient demonstrates good judgment and capacity to make decisions. I delivered both sealed reports to Julia's office the following Tuesday. She opened them, read them carefully, and nodded satisfied. This is excellent. The court-appointed psychiatrists will reach the same conclusions. Their incompetency petition just became much harder to sustain. She placed the reports in my file, then paused, flipped through previous documents, and stopped at a page. Her expression changed. Arthur, do you remember this? She showed me a document. 3 years ago, you signed a deed of donation of your house in Lucy's name. Value back then, $340,000. Current value, probably $380,000. I looked at the paper, my signature at the end, Lucy's next to mine. 3 years ago, 6 months after my wife's death, I had wanted Lucy to have security, to know she would always count on something solid. Julia left the document on her desk, between us. This is a revocable deed of gift. You can recover it. The words hung floating in the air. Recover it. Under what conditions? Arizona law allows revocation if the beneficiary demonstrates grave ingratitude toward the donor. With what happened, taking your property, suing you for incompetence, the comment about the nursing home, I think we have sufficient grounds. I looked at the document again. The house. The place where my wife and I had lived 23 years. The place where I had raised Lucy. The same house where Ryan had entered and taken my keys. Where he suggested a nursing home for the elderly. She does not know the house is legally hers. She believes it is still mine, part of the future inheritance, which makes revoking it. Julia paused a moment to choose her words well, a lesson. I leaned back in the chair. The deed of gift, made out of love, signed in the midst of grief, intended to protect, could now be revoked, with legal basis and justification. What else is in my file? I asked quietly. Julia pulled out another folder. Life insurance policies, 3 in total. Death benefit, $250,000. The beneficiary on all 3 is Lucy. Yes. We looked at each other across her desk. The deed of gift was between us, yellowing with age. My signature remained clear at the bottom. I remembered when I signed it, thinking I was protecting her, ensuring she would have something solid when I was no longer there. Now that protection had turned into a weapon. Julia took a legal pad and uncapped a pen. If we are going to revoke this donation, we need to document the ingratitude thoroughly. The trailer incident, the police intervention, the incapacity lawsuit, all of that counts as evidence. We will also review your other assets, she said, looking at insurance beneficiaries, retirement accounts. I felt a shift inside me. It was no longer anger, it was something colder, more definitive. Lucy, I said, on everything. Julia's pen moved over the paper, not for much longer. Julia spent the next hour drafting documents. Her fingers typed without pause, stopping occasionally to consult the Arizona statutes stacked on her credenza. I gave her dates, details, concrete incidents. I am citing 4 clear acts of ingratitude, she said while writing. First, the unauthorized removal of your property, valued at $45,000. Second, the police intervention in a family matter, causing public humiliation. Third, the comment about the nursing home, on record. Ryan said it in front of me in my own house. Yes. And fourth, the filing of an unfounded incapacity petition, despite contrary medical evidence. She stopped writing and reviewed what was drafted. This is solid, Arthur. Any judge would support the revocation. She printed the document and handed it to me. Official legal language. Revocation of deed of gift, citing revised Arizona statutes, documenting every show of ingratitude with dates, witnesses, police report numbers, all clinical, precise, devastating. The house at 2847 Desert Willow Drive, I read aloud. Current value $380,000. She will receive this by certified mail, along with the legal references explaining her right to contest, which will not prosper given the evidence. Julia took out 3 more forms for a change of life insurance beneficiaries, 3 different companies, 3 policies, 28 years paying premiums. These 3 policies, total benefit $250,000. Correct. Currently, Lucy is listed as primary beneficiary on all 3. We will change it to the Arizona Veterans Relief Fund. Same as in your will. I read each form carefully. My training as an insurance agent had made me meticulous with paperwork. Each one required signature, date, and new beneficiary data. I signed the first, then the second, and then the third. Each signature felt definitive, immovable. She would receive the notification. Each insurance company would send the confirmation. She would know precisely what she had lost. Julia's assistant entered, gathered the documents, prepared certified mail envelopes, 1 for the revocation of the donation and 3 for the insurance confirmations. She put tracking labels on them and registered everything. Bureaucratic, but necessary. Proof of delivery. Julia stopped before sealing the envelope with the revocation of the donation. Arthur, I need to ask you, are you sure about this? Once we send these letters, there is no easy way back. Your relationship with your daughter. I interrupted her, firm but without anger. My relationship with my daughter ended when she stayed silent while her husband robbed me. These documents only make it official. She sealed the envelope. The certified mail went out on Tuesday afternoon. By Thursday morning, my phone had exploded. 15 missed calls from Lucy, 2 from Ryan, several voice messages. I was back in Julia's office when her phone rang. She gave the caller ID, put it on speaker. Yes, this is Julia Vance. Yes, I represent Mr. Reeves. No, there is no negotiation. The revocation is legally valid. The beneficiary changes are his right. Your clients showed enormous ingratitude. It is documented. No, Mr. Reeves will not take any calls. She hung up and looked at me. They are panicking. I took my cell phone, checked the voice messages, and put one on speaker for Julia to hear. Ryan's voice filled the office, furious, threatening. You are making a huge mistake, old man. You think you can get the house back? We are going to tie you up in court for years. You will be dead before this is resolved, and we are not backing down on the incapacity hearing. Everyone will see how vindictive and senile. I stopped the playback. Save it, said Julia, taking notes. Add it to the evidence file. Threatening language toward an older relative. This helps us in the case. Lucy's messages were different, not threatening, but pleading amidst crying. The first 3 were unintelligible, just sobs and disjointed phrases. The 4th was clearer. Dad, please, I need to talk to you. Just me, not Ryan. Please. Tomorrow morning I am coming over. Stay home. I checked the time. 20 minutes ago, tomorrow morning. Friday. I left Julia's office with copies of everything. The revocation notification, the insurance beneficiary changes, Ryan's transcribed and archived voice message. The Arizona sun hit me as I stepped out into the parking lot. Burning. Relentless. September in Phoenix felt like a punishment. I sat in the car without starting the engine. I looked at my phone again. Now there were 17 missed calls in total. All the missed calls were from Lucy, except 2. What could she tell me? That she was sorry? That it was Ryan who forced her? That she had no alternative? Everyone has alternatives. She took hers. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I checked her last voicemail, the one talking about coming tomorrow. I listened again to the urgency in her tone. Just me, without Ryan, separated from him. That was something new. I started the car and left the parking lot. The drive home took me half an hour with the afternoon traffic. I spent that time imagining what she would say. And what would I answer? Probably nothing. There was almost nothing left to say. But tomorrow I would be home. If she wanted to talk, I would listen. Once. The cell phone vibrated with a message as I pulled into my garage. Lucy, I am sorry. I am so sorry. Let me explain. Tomorrow. Give me just 30 minutes. Please, Dad. I read it twice. I turned off the phone and went inside. The house was silent. Empty. The trailer was still parked, unused. 3 weeks since I bought it. 3 weeks since everything fell apart. I made dinner. Roast chicken, salad, rice. I ate alone at the kitchen table. I washed the dishes. Dried them. Put them away. Tomorrow Lucy would come. She would apologize, or give explanations, or beg. It did not matter. The documents were already signed. The certified mail sent. The donation annulled. The insurance beneficiaries changed. Everything in order. Everything legal. Everything definitive. I went to bed early, but I did not sleep. I stayed in the darkness thinking about those signatures from 3 years ago. About protection and betrayal. About the difference between being a father and being an insurance policy. The phone remained off. Let her wonder if I had read the message. Let her agonize over whether I would be home or not. I would be. I would listen to what she had to say. And then she would leave. And it would all end. I was by the kitchen window when I saw Lucy's car arrive at 9:30 Friday morning. She came alone. Ryan was not in the seat next to her. That was important. I opened the door before she knocked. She had been crying. Swollen eyes. Running mascara. Her hands were shaking on the porch. Dad, please, can we talk? Just the two of us. I stepped aside, signaling the living room. You wanted to talk? I am listening. She sat on the edge of the sofa, the same sofa she had sat on as a child. Birthdays, Christmases, movie nights when she was 10. The memories floated in the air like ghosts. I never wanted any of this. The trailer, the police, the legal fights. This was not what I wanted. I settled into the chair across from her, not next to her. The distance mattered. Then what did you want, Lucy? Her voice broke. Ryan pushed for everything. The trailer was his idea. Filing the incapacity petition was his idea. I only followed him because he is my husband, and I did not know how to stop him. You did not know how to tell him no, but you did know how to stay silent when he humiliated me. She looked down at her hands, twisted her wedding ring. I am sorry. Why exactly? For everything. For not standing up to him. For letting things go this far. I leaned forward. I asked her the question I had saved since that morning in my driveway, the day he took my keys and suggested putting me in a nursing home like I was disposable trash. You were there. Why didn't you defend me? Long silence. She looked at her lap. 30 seconds passed. 45. I don't know. I should have done it. I'm sorry. Yes, you do know. You chose him over me. You just do not want to admit it. Her tears flowed harder. I love you, Dad. Truly. But he is my husband. I have to live with him. I have to? You have to choose. That is what you're saying. You chose then. You are still choosing now. It is not that simple. Yes, it is. I got up, walked to the window. I looked at the RV parked in my driveway. I will stop everything. The revocation of the donation, the changes in the insurance, everything. The house becomes yours again. The inheritance remains intact, on one condition. Her face showed a flash of hope. Anything. What? That you file for divorce. That you get Ryan out of your life. That you choose your father over your husband, just as you chose your husband over your father. Her expression changed, first surprise, then realization, then anger. You cannot ask me that. That is manipulation. That is blackmail. I turned from the window and looked straight at her. No. Blackmail is threatening someone to get something that does not belong to you. I have a right to my daughter's respect. I am giving you an option. The same one you gave me when you stayed silent while he robbed me. You chose in that moment. Choose now. She stood up, grabbed her purse. This is cruel. You have become cruel. I have become just. There is a difference. She walked to the door, stopped with her hand on the doorknob. You're going to die alone and bitter? Maybe. But I will die, knowing I did not let them trample me. Not even my family. She left. The door closed softly. I saw her from the window sitting in her car for 5 minutes, crying. Then she started the engine and drove away. I expected to feel something, maybe satisfaction or vindication. Instead, I only felt tired, old. The house was silent. The afternoon fell. My phone vibrated with a voicemail. It was Ryan's voice, overflowing with rage. You are sick, asking her to divorce me. What kind of father does that? You are going to pay dearly. We are going to drag you through every court in Arizona. We are going to make sure everyone knows you are a manipulative and spiteful old man. This is not over, not even close. I listened to it once on speaker and then forwarded it to Julia with a 2-word message, more evidence. Her response arrived in minutes. Perfect. This helps if they escalate the situation. She asked me if I was ready to move forward with the sale of the house. I looked around the living room. Lucy had been sitting on that sofa just an hour ago, crying. Before that, countless family dinners, birthdays, movie nights when she was a girl. The house held decades of memories, but those memories were not enough to counteract the betrayal. I wrote my answer to Julia, yes. List it immediately. I am ready to move on. I left the phone and walked to my office. In the desk drawer, I had a folder with real estate listings. Small houses in Sedona, a town I had always wanted to see. Red Rock views, quiet streets, far enough from Phoenix to start over. I took out the folder and spread the listings on the desk. One caught my attention, 2 bedrooms, view of the rocks, $220,000. I marked it with a pen. It was time to stop looking back. Monday morning, I met with Julia to sign the revocation of the deed of gift. The document was on her desk, official, stamped, ready to be filed. Here it is, Arthur. Once I record it with the county, the deed of gift is officially revoked. The house is solely yours. Are you ready? I signed on the bottom line. I have been ready since the moment I understood what was happening. This just makes it official. She witnessed my signature and placed her notary seal. For what it is worth, I think you have handled this with admirable restraint. Many people would have been much more vindictive. I answered her, I'm not looking to destroy them, just protect what is mine. That same afternoon she filed the documents, and by Wednesday the house was legally mine again. 3 years after giving it to Lucy out of love, it returned to my name because of betrayal. Richard Gomez, the real estate agent, placed the for sale sign in the yard on Thursday morning. I saw him from the window as he hammered it into the grass. The house I lived in for 23 years was now just a property transaction. The listing went online on Friday, and there were several showings over the weekend. By Monday afternoon, Richard called me with 3 offers. Mr. Reeves, all cash buyers. Everyone wants to close fast. The highest is $392. They close in 2 weeks. Accept it. I do not need the maximum price. I need to be done with this place. Are you sure? We could reach the asking price if we wait. I am sure. Accept the offer. While the sale moved forward, I drove to Sedona. The listing I had marked was still available. 2 bedrooms, view of the Red Rocks, $220,000. I walked through empty rooms and stood in the backyard looking at the red rock formations rising in the distance. The real estate agent talked about square footage and recent remodels, but I barely listened. This works. This is enough. 2 bedrooms, 1 for me, and 1 for an office. A kitchen with a view of the rocks. No neighbors close by. No memories. Just room to breathe. I bought it cash. I signed the papers that same day. Julia called in the afternoon with news. Lucy and Ryan's lawyer communicated again, wanted to talk about a possible settlement. I answered that there was nothing to negotiate. Everything you did was legal. The incapacity hearing was annulled. The judge reviewed your medical evaluations and found no grounds. What did he say? He asked if you would accept meeting once more with Lucy. I answered that I would consult you, but I already knew your answer. You know it too. The house in Phoenix closed 2 weeks later. I signed the final documents in a title company office. I received a cashier's check for $392,000. Added to my savings, it was enough to live quietly the rest of my days, on my terms. I spent the next week packing. The trailer that had caused so much conflict finally fulfilled its function. Clothes, maps, camping gear, travel guides. I loaded it with order, crossing each item off my list. With my insurance agent training, everything documented, nothing forgotten. The morning I left, I drove north instead of south, from Phoenix to Flagstaff, then west toward the Grand Canyon. I'd planned this route months ago, when I first bought the trailer, when Lucy's voice on the phone turned off my joy. Now I was getting it back. I stopped at a lookout, stepped down into the fresh September air. The canyon stretched out before me, immense, ancient, indifferent to human dramas. I stood beside my trailer with the landscape behind and took out my cell phone. A single photo, me and the Winnebago Vista with the Grand Canyon in the background. I wrote a caption. Turns out I did need this after all. I sent it to Lucy, then I put the phone in airplane mode and went back to the trailer. I did not wait for a response. I did not need it. Whatever she felt seeing that photo, anger, regret, bitterness, it did not matter anymore. She made her decisions. I took mine. The highway stretched west from the canyon. Empty and open, I had no schedule, no deadline. Monument Valley tomorrow maybe, Arches National Park next week, with luck the Yukon, if the weather allowed. The cell phone rested silently in the cup holder. Julia had sent a final email that morning before I left. Everything concluded. The incapacity case is dismissed. The revocation of the deed of gift recorded. You are free and clear. Free and clear. I like how that sounds. The trailer responded firmly on the highway, stable and reliable. I feared it would feel too big, difficult to control, but it moved as if it were a natural extension of my own movements. The miles were falling behind under the tires. Phoenix was fading away, and Sedona waited for me 2 hours south, ready for when I wanted to return to my new house, to my new life. But not yet. First, there were places I wanted to see. I had waited long enough already. The retirement I had planned, the dream I had saved for, the trip I had earned. It was finally happening. On my terms. In my trailer. Alone, but without feeling lonely. Lucy and Ryan had thought they could take this from me, that an old man would not fight, that the family tie gave them immunity from consequences. They learned that was not so. Not out of cruelty from me, but thanks to my proof, my preparation, my refusal to accept that love means tolerating theft. The road curved in front of me through the desert, between red rocks and blue sky. I followed it west, then north, and then wherever the map pointed me. No one waited for me, no one claimed me. No one could snatch this away. Just the road, the trailer, and the freedom to choose my course. I spent 63 years being careful, responsible, someone everyone could trust. Now it was different, not reckless, not imprudent, just free. The sun moved across the sky, the miles accumulated, and somewhere ahead, after the next curve or the one following, my true retirement awaited me. Not the one I had lost when Ryan crossed my door, but the one I fought to recover. If you like this story, like the video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions in the comments. To hear the next story, click on the box to the left. Thanks for watching. What I learned on this road is that we must never allow anyone, no matter how much effort we built. I spent years being responsible, supporting everyone, but I also discovered that there comes a moment in life when one must choose for oneself, not for others. Being free is not being reckless. It is being faithful to what one deserves. And sometimes justice is not demonstrated with screams or revenge, but with preparation, patience, and the firmness not to yield to injustice. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Stay silent and let them take what was yours, or stand up and defend what you achieved with so much sacrifice. I am very interested to hear your thoughts and experiences. May God bless you always.